cause of the, yes, the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. And he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji. The original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion. As one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the three modes of material nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Dharma projita cha kaitavo, Dharma projita kaitavo tra. Paramo nirmatsaranam satam. Vedyam vastavam atra vastu. Shivadam tapa trayon mulanam. Srimad Bhagavatam Mahamuni Krite. Kimva Parer Ishwaraha. Sadyo Hridaya Varudyate Tra. Kriti Bihi Susrusu Bihis Takshanat. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva, in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So today we are on Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse number 3. Verse number 2. Okay. So we began, I'll just read verse number 1. So it says, Sutta Goswami said, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universes. So, when it says, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation, is talking about Karanodakshai Vishnu, who's the source of the material creation. And Prabhupada explains in this verse that the material universes are produced by the three Vishnu emanations or expansions from Krishna: Karandadakshay Vishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Shirodakshay Vishnu. So this first verse is explained, first two verses of this chapter explains about Karandadakshay Vishnu, the first Vishnu expansion for the material creation. The Vishnu forms are exactly the same as the Narayana forms in the spiritual world, but they are in the material world. Although they're in the material world, they're still not subjected to the influence of the modes of material nature or time and material miseries and so forth. So, Lord Krishna, although he appears to be a human being, he's not. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And although he appears in the material world as if he's an incarnation, he is the source of all incarnations. Now, this is just proof that the Lord is absolute. Absolute means he can do anything. He's not constrained by any law, by any limitation, and he can appear in the material world and still be completely transcendental. And even though everything appears to be expanded from Karana-dakshay Vishnu, actually Karana-dakshay Vishnu is expanded from Krishna. So these are things that one has to understand from authority. You can't figure these things out on your own. And the authority are the highest, most brilliant people in the history of the world, such as Vyasadeva, Narada Muni, and so forth. These are the most brilliant people that have ever existed in the universe. And they are authorities. Lord Brahma is an authority. And Narada Muni is authority. Vyasadeva is an authority. They're perfect authorities. They're not also influenced by the modes of material nature. Therefore, they can speak the absolute truth perfectly. So, Krishna has many expansions. We are also an expansion of the Lord, but we have an individual soul that is limited, whereas Krishna and his plenary or absolute expansions, which are non-different than him, they are not limited like we are. So for us to understand that is a major step towards self-realization. But most people don't understand anything. They don't even understand that they have an eternal soul that's part and parcel of the Lord. They think that the existence of God is a fantasy and that they're independently in this world by some accident, and you may as well take advantage of the accident by having as much sense gratification as possible, and then when you die, you have nothing to worry about because there's nothing after death. This is all nonsense, atheistic philosophy, which we will understand in a few minutes. So in this first verse, in the purport, it explains the Nityabhadas, these are living entities like you and me, who are apparently prisoners in the material world. Nityabhada means eternally entangled by the laws of material nature, the laws of karma, and so forth. Why does it say Nitya? Because we have an eternal soul that never was born and can never die. But we experience birth, death, old age, and disease due to bodily attachment. Just like once you walk into an airplane and it takes off, whatever happens to that airplane will most likely happen to you. If the airplane crashes, you crash, right? Because you're in the airplane. And the same thing, as soon as we are placed in a material body, we are subject to all the frailties of the body, as long as we have an attachment to it. So it says here, the sense of individuality of the living entity, or ahankara, which means the false ego, dictates to them that the purpose of life is sense enjoyment. And this is something that we cannot have constitutionally. In other words, we're not constituted to be an independent enjoyer. This is another illusion that we're suffering from. We believe that we can be independent enjoyers, but by constitution, we are subordinate enjoyers. Krishna is the supreme independent enjoyer, and we can participate in the transcendental joy of the Lord by serving Him. But we cannot emulate Him in any way. You can try, but you will not succeed. And we have this false sense of individuality. Our real individuality is understanding that we are eternally related to God, or Krishna, as His part and parcel, and that our duty in life is to serve the Lord. In false consciousness, or ahankar, we believe that that God is some philosophical subject, but not real. And if you want to believe in God and it makes you feel good, that's all right. But the higher understanding is there's no God, and we're independent in this world. And we only live once, so we may as well try and squeeze out as much enjoyment as possible, and when we die, there's nothing. It's a very convenient philosophy of ignorance. That's why they say ignorance is bliss. Just like you might come to America from India, rent a car and start driving on the left-hand side of the street. And a policeman stops you and says, "What are you doing?" You say, "What do you mean, what am I doing? What are you doing? Why did you stop me?" "I stopped you because you're breaking the law." I said, "I didn't break any law." He said, "You're driving on the wrong side of the street." "No, this is the right side of the street. This is the way we drive in India." He says, "Okay, you're getting a ticket, and if you keep doing it, I'm going to arrest you." So that's no excuse that because you drive on the left-hand side of the street in India, you can continue driving on the left-hand side when you come to America. That's nonsense. America is a different place, has different laws, and if you don't follow the laws, you'll get arrested and prosecuted. So ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is the cause of suffering. Ignorance of the laws of nature established by Krishna, ignorance of our own constitutional position is the cause of our own suffering. Ignorance is the cause of suffering in life. Just like total ignorance is smoking a cigarette. Total ignorance is drinking alcohol. Total ignorance is taking marijuana. Total ignorance is engaged in illicit sexual activity. All that is total ignorance. It's performed by people who are ignorant of what the purpose of life is, and the fact that we are all subject to the laws of karma. Why? It's a good thing that there are laws of karma, because it is a warning to us that we're doing something wrong when we get the suffering for engaging in illicit activities or sinful activities. The chance to enjoy matter is given to the conditioned souls in the material world, and side by side they're given a chance to understand their real constitutional position as the eternal servant of Krishna. So therefore, our free will is limited to these two choices. Beyond those two choices, there's no free will. Either we agree to serve God, or we decide not to serve God. Either way, Krishna knows what's going to happen to us. Because when we don't serve Krishna, we become subject to time, laws of karma, threefold miseries, birth, old age, disease, death, and repetition of it ad infinitum until we understand. So, Real freedom is surrendering to Krishna and serving him. That's real freedom. Real stupidity and ignorance is refusing to follow Krishna's instructions and living a wanton life, an irresponsible life of will-o'-the-wisp. Whatever you think is right, that's right. Well, that's wrong. Okay, so that was basically the first and second verses. Persons who cannot catch the constitutional truth of the living entity. Constitutional truth is we're made to be servants of Krishna. We're not made to engage in sense gratification. We are not the primary enjoyer. So those who can't understand the constitutional truth of their soul, their eternal soul, are again merged into the Mahatattva at the time of annihilation and material creation. And when the creation is then set up again, this Mahatattva is again let loose, and another term of birth, death, old age, and disease begins until the living entity wakes up. And the only way we can wake up is coming in contact with a genuine devotee of the Lord, who will take the time and the patience to instruct us what is our real constitutional position in life. Constitutional position means your real self, your real existence as a jiva, a soul. Okay. So now we'll go to today's subject, and that is there's another point we have to cover. This was in verse number 2. The subject matter of Mahavishnu is summarized in Sloka 2. The Mahavishnu lies down in some part of the spiritual sky by his own free will. Thus he lies in the ocean of Karana, from where he glances over his material nature, and the Mahatattva is at once created. Mahatattva is the total material energy. Thus, electrified by the power of the Lord, the material nature at once creates innumerable universes, just as in due course a tree decorates itself with innumerable grown fruits. So this at once, first electrified by the glance of the Lord, that's what infuses the energy into the dead matter, the Mahatattva, and the time and the time factor becomes active. Time factor is an expansion of Krishna. And the modes of material nature begin to act, and therefore things begin to interact, and things happen. This is because of the electrification by the glance of the Lord. You see. Then, innumerable universes are created right away. It's not over a long period of time by accident and combinations and permutations and no intelligence behind it and accidental and somehow or other things happen. That's not true. It's not the law of gravity that makes things happen. It's the glance of the Lord that electrifies the material nature and things begin to happen. So material nature itself has no power to create without the power of the Lord. The scientists claim that material nature has the power to create by itself. And this was started by, well, it's codified. I'm not going to say started. It's codified by Aristotle in the West. It's called teleology. Teleos, a Greek word. It means that nature moves naturally in a purposeful way toward an end that is organized. Of course, that's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics of the scientists. But anyway, this concept that nature has the power to create on its own is a nonsensical concept. And it's not true, although the scientists believe it's true. Just like a woman cannot procreate without the seed given by a man. It doesn't even a test tube baby has a mother and father. It's just that it's cultivated in a artificial environment, not in the womb of the mother. But still, they couldn't do it without the ovum of the mother and the sperm of the father. So there's no such thing as, we're creating life. They're not creating life. They didn't create the sperm, they didn't create the ovum. So material nature has no power to create without the power of the Purusha or Mahavishnu. The Purusha impregnates and the Prakriti delivers. We should not expect milk from the fleshy bags on the neck of a goat, although they look like breastly nipples. Similarly, we should not expect any creative power from the material ingredients. We must believe in the power of the Purusha who impregnates Prakriti or nature. Okay. So now we'll begin today's lesson. Well, the main point is Parasya Shakti Vividaya Vasriyate. The Lord has unlimited powers, and nature cannot act on its own. So verse 3 says, they say that this world is it is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha, but he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence par excellence. So now there's a concept here of the Virat Rupa or Vishwarupa of the Supreme Absolute Truth. And this idea of a universal form of the Lord in the material creation that embodies everything is meant for the neophytes, people just beginning in spiritual life, who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the personality of Godhead. At one time, there was this American lady in Berkeley. She came to our temple, and someone was explaining to her who Krishna is and showing her the Krishna book. And there was pictures of baby Krishna. And she said, oh, no, I can't accept this. This is not, no. God for me is an old man who's got wisdom. He's not a little baby. I mean, what can a baby do? Right? She jumped to all these conclusions right away. So this is a problem. So for neophytes like that lady, we shouldn't talk about baby Krishna and Vrindavan. We should talk about Virat Rupa, the universal form that embodies everything in the material creation. And it's especially meant for the neophytes who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the personality of Godhead. For the neophyte person, form means something of this material world. They can't imagine spirit having a form. Spirit for them is something ethereal that doesn't have a form. And therefore, an opposite conception of the Absolute is necessary in the beginning to concentrate the mind on the power extension of the Lord. The power extension, right? So, for the neophyte who sees everything in terms of material forms, the opposite conception of the Absolute is necessary. They can't understand Krishna as he is. Therefore, they're given an opposite conception of the Lord as the Virat Rupa, or as the American Indians say, the Great Spirit. That manifests its power in whales and eagles and so forth. And so the extension of the power of the Lord and the Lord himself personally are one in one sense. In other words, the entire Mahat Tattva, material energy, is one with the Lord because it's his energy. But at the same time, the Mahat Tattva is different from the Lord because the Lord is playing in Vrindavan as a baby or a young boy and is not concerned with material creation. He's concerned with loving pastimes with his parents and the gopis and the residents of Vrindavan. But in one sense, they're one. Virat Rupa is one because it's the Lord's energy. And in another sense, it's different because Virat Rupa is not experiencing Krishna's pastimes in the spiritual world. It's only in the material world. And it is stressed here that the eternal form of the Lord is par excellence spiritual or transcendental to the modes of material nature. The very same transcendental form of the Lord is manifested by his internal potency and the formation of his multifarious manifestations of incarnations is always the same transcendental quality without any touch of the Mahatattva. So there is a difference between Virat Rupa and Krishna's expansion as Narayana, or Krishna's expansion as Mahavishnu, or Garbhodakshay Vishnu, or Kshirodakshay Vishnu. All the absolute or plenary expansions and partial plenary expansions of the Lord are transcendental. Virat Rupa, the universal form that embodies the material world, is not transcendental. Why do we say that? Because Virat Rupa has no eternal planet in the spiritual world. Virat Rupa is only manifest in the material world and for the duration of the material world, then it disappears. So an incarnation of an avatar of the Lord descends from the spiritual world and has a spiritual planet in the spiritual world. Virat Rupa does not exist in the spiritual world. Right? Okay, and there was another point that I wanted to make that I didn't finish making, and that is, if we come back to the second verse, Prabhupada explains that the atheists and the asuras, they have their own conception of what is man's purpose in this world, and what this world is, and the origin of this world. And it's said in the 16th chapter, 8th verse of Bhagavad Gita, asatyam aprastishtam te jagat ahur anishwaram aparaspara sambhutam kim anyat kama haitukam. They say, this is the demons and the asuras, the philosophers, the scientists, the teachers in the schools, this is what they say. They say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. The demonic conclude that the world is phantasmagoria, meaning a dream-like thing. There is no cause and effect, no controller, no purpose. Everything is unreal. They say that this cosmic manifestation arises due to chance, material actions, and reactions. They do not think that the world was created by God for a certain purpose. They have their own theory that the world has come about in its own way and that there is no reason to believe that there is a God behind it. For them, there is no difference between spirit and matter, and they do not accept the Supreme Spirit. Everything is matter only, and the whole cosmos is supposed to be a mass of ignorance. So this was the belief of Turing. Turing is considered to be the father of modern computers. He did all his research in the 1940s and 50s. And in 1950, he said, if there is a soul, it is something that will be manifest in the advanced stage of material evolution. He said, at a certain point, the computers will develop a soul. This is how crazy people are. And this guy's big intellectual, right? The father of modern computers. So, everything is matter only, and the whole cosmos is supposed to be a mass of ignorance. They take it for granted that all manifestation of diversity is a display of ignorance. Just as in a dream, we may create so many things which actually have no existence. Then, when we are awake, we shall see that everything is simply a dream. And so, instead of acquiring knowledge, they become more and more implicated in their dreamland. You want to go to a dreamland? Go to a bar. Go to Disneyland. Go to a baseball game, football game, basketball game. Go to a gym for a workout. All those things are dreams, right? Go to a movie. Right? It's a dream. There's no reality to these things. They're just temporary, and it's going on for a short while, and when it's over, it's just a memory. That's all it is, and a bad memory usually. But factually, although the demons say that life is a dream, they are very expert in enjoying the dream. And so, instead of acquiring knowledge, they become more and more implicated in their dreamland. They conclude that a child is simply the result of sexual intercourse between man and woman. This world is born without any soul. For them, it is only a combination of matter that has produced the living entities, and there is no question of the existence of the soul. As many living creatures come out from combinations of the cosmic manifestation, as many creatures come out from perspiration and from a dead body without any cause. Yeah, if you see a body that dies, you leave it alone. Don't put any formaldehyde, don't take the blood out, just leave it alone. You'll see eventually things come out of it. Worms and bugs and things like that. Do you ever see that? I have seen that. Not a human body, but an animal body. But humans are the same thing. Eventually these things come out of the body. The body is dead. But all of a sudden, there's worms and insects and things. It's amazing. And they devour the body. Actually devour it. So that nature has that innate mechanism in it, cyclic mechanism by which a person who dies, they become consumed by what's in their body. The different bacterias, worms, viruses, and things like that. As many living creatures come out of perspiration and from a dead body without any cause, the whole living world has come out of the material combinations of the cosmic manifestation. Therefore, material nature is the cause of this manifestation, and there is no other cause. They do not believe in the words of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Maya dakshena pakriti suyate sacharacharam. Under my direction, the whole material world is moving. In other words, among the demons, there is no perfect knowledge of the creation of the world. Every one of them has some particular theory of his own. According to them, one interpretation of the scriptures is as good as another, for they do not believe in a standard understanding of the scriptural injunctions. That's the belief of the demons who are in control of the educational system in the West and in India. This is what they're teaching children today. And don't be surprised when children grow up, they become atheists. Just like it can happen to any family, and it's happening all the time. When the kid is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, they're learning nice things, they're quoting Shastra. As soon as they go to college, it's over, finished. They have been programmed to be demons by the whole educational system because they have them in prime time. So they're eating junk, they're going on the internet, they're watching this, they're watching that. They go to baseball games, football games, basketball games, they go to Disneyland, they go to casinos, they go do the bungra in a bar in Bellevue. It's be completely, lost the whole culture because of the false education system. So then, verse number 4, the devotees, with their perfect eyes, see the transcendental form of the Purusha, who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body, there are thousands of heads, eyes, ears, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and are adorned with garlands. Actually, there's a verse like this in Bhagavad Gita also. When Arjuna sees the universal form of Krishna, his hair stands on end. And he says, let's see where that verse is. It says, 11 point what? 10.8? 11.10. Yeah, okay. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore many divine upraised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine scents were smeared over his body. All was wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all expanding. So we see that the Lord has infinite expansions. It's called the fourth dimension, Turiya. Everything is infinite. We're in a third dimension where everything is limited. Length, breadth, or length, width, and height. It's limited. The fourth dimension, the length, width, and height are unlimited. In fact, everything is unlimited. And you can enter into the fourth dimension by, we see examples of it. Like, for example, Hanuman can carry a mountain from the Himalayas all the way to Lanka, flying through the air without any machine or anything. That's fourth dimension. And we see the Vamana Dev, he can stretch his leg, although he's a midget. He can stretch his leg to the end of the universe, and in fact crack the universe. And then some of the Karana Sagar ocean comes into the material world and becomes the Ganges. So that's Turiya, that's fourth dimension. It's even present in this world through purified consciousness. You can actually experience it. So with our present materialized senses, we cannot perceive anything of the transcendental world and the transcendental Lord. Our present senses are to be rectified by the process of devotional service, and then the Lord himself becomes revealed to us. This is real knowledge now. This is a real process of knowledge. And Krishna says, Ye yatamam papadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mamavart manavartante manusya partha sarvasa. He says, as my devotee surrenders unto me, proportionately to his surrender, I reveal myself to him. So the fourth chapter, 11th verse, let's see what it says. It says, everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence and as the all-pervading Supersoul, dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Krishna is fully realized only by his pure devotees. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. Now, most people don't desire to have Krishna at all. In fact, they're trying to erase God from their life. That's the result of modern education. Are teachers allowed to talk about religion and God in schools? No. They can talk about Indian religion, and Indian, not East Indian, but American Indian religion, and talk about hoo, ha, ha, boom, 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 right? But talk about Christianity, talk about Judaism, talk about Islam, talk about Krishna consciousness, they're not allowed. And so what can they learn by going to such schools? In fact, you're going to see my latest book is going to come out next week. Srila Prabhupada's understanding of education. And you'll see that he said the real goal of education is teach the kids to believe in God and to practice God consciousness their whole life. That's the real goal of education. Any other education is considered nonsense. And it's not Prabhupada saying that. Krishna says it in the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, where he says, Etad jnanam iti proktam agyanam yatad nyata. He says, Aman yidvam adam yidvam ahimsa sante arjavam acharya pasamam socham staryam atma vinigraham indiyate suvairagyam anahankara evacha janma mitya jaravyadi dukadosana darshanam asaktir anavisvam ga putradhara grihadisu nityam cha samachitad pa istan isto papadisu maichnanya yogena bhaktir avyakti bhaktir avyabhicharini Vivikta desasevitam aratir janasamsadi. Adyatma jnana nityatma tattva jnanartha darshanam. Etad jnanam iti proktam agyanam yatad atonyata. So this verse says humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and beside this, whatever there may be, is ignorance. So this is Krishna saying it, it's not Prabhupada, right? So this is the real principle of education. Anything other than this is called ignorance, ajnana. And it teaches people to be materialists. It teaches them to waste their life on sense gratification, accumulating money, accumulating 10 toasters and 5 machines to make ice cream that they never use, and so forth. So just accumulating junk and wasting their life. Everything you accumulate like that, there's some maintenance that goes with it. So that takes your time also, right? Something breaks, you got to get it fixed, and so forth. And, by the way, the other day we were discussing what are the 5 principles of ultimate health. Principle number 3 was eliminating all toxic things in the home. Now, I went through a list of all the toxic things in a normal American home. It's scary. It is actually scary. It's a long list of things that are not potentially toxic. They are toxic, and you can get cancer from them. You can get all kinds of serious illnesses from them. And they're very toxic. And the names are names you can't pronounce, all these Latin names. They're all chemicals. You'd be surprised how many, if I'm going to read the list again this Sunday. Huh? I won't do it now. I'm going to read the list again. You'll be scared out of your wits. You didn't know that there's so many things that are toxic in a normal home. Right? And so it's not surprising that so many people get cancer. It's not surprising that little kids get cancer. When you hear the list of things, you can say, oh my God, I'm giving that to my kid. Just like at the Healthy, Happy, and Wise Festival, there was a man there, he wrote a book, Mr. Brown, he wrote a book, Stop Killing Your Kids. He went through a list of all toxic things that parents give their kids. Different foods, candies, perfumes, bubble bath, this thing, that. He went through the list. You'd be surprised how many toxic things you give your kids. That if you knew what they were, you would never let them into the house. See? And then there's things that the houses are built with that are all toxic. That's why there's so much cancer today. There was a famous doctor named Dr. Warburg who was Hitler's personal doctor. And the guy was a Jew. And Hitler didn't kill him because he was a really good doctor. Warburg wrote a book, Why There's So Much Cancer in the World Today. And he attributed it to toxic things in the home and in the air, in the food, in the water. Just like the city of Sammamish. Did you know that they put fluorine in the water? Fluorine is a very toxic material. It's a byproduct of aluminum manufacturing. The aluminum companies, they paid off American legislators in Congress, and they made a phony theory that fluorine is good for your teeth. Now, fluorine has been in the water in America for over 60 years. Have the dentists gone bankrupt? No, there's more dentists now than ever before. right? So the whole thing is a hoax. Fluorine is not good for your teeth. Yeah, fluoride-based toothpaste for kids, of course, right. Fluorine is very dangerous. Now, the aluminum companies had to pay to have the fluoride, what is it, sodium fluoride or whatever, which was a byproduct of aluminum production, as a toxic waste. They had to pay for it to be recycled. But by convincing the United States Senate and Congress that fluoride was good for the teeth, they mandated that you should put fluoride in the water, the public water that we buy. So, because it's good for the teeth. And they say, you know, this toothpaste has fluoride in it. And everyone says, oh, I have to have fluoride. The dentists tell you have to have fluoride toothpaste. You see? The whole thing is a hoax. It's not true. Right? And because of that, people have been using fluoride, and they've been voting to permit fluoride in the municipal water. And whenever a city decides to put fluoride in the water, nobody objects to it because they think it's good. See? So Warburg said people get cancer because they are surrounded by toxic materials in the home, in the food, in supplements, in perfumes, in home cleaning products, in carpets, in paint, in the air, and in the water. Can you imagine that? Anyway, we'll talk about that. So the most toxic thing is education that doesn't touch any of these 20 principles that Krishna says is education. Anything outside of these 20 principles is considered ajnana, or ignorance. And spending your time to learn that stuff, you are jeopardizing your ability to become liberated from the cycle of birth and death at the end of life. So someone said, well, how do I earn a living? Oh, there's many ways you can earn a living. Many ways. How did Steve Jobs earn a living? He quit college. Right. How did Microsoft's Bill Gates earn a living? He quit college also. They never got their college degrees, right? But they made a lot of money. Right? So many people make a lot of money without going to college, and sometimes they make much more money than people who go to college, and they don't have to pay high prices to get through college. You see. Prabhupada, how did he make a living? He refused to accept his college degree because he was a member of Gandhi's movement, right? But did he suffer in his life? No. He was a very successful, he had a pharmacy, an Indian pharmacy. But he earned a living, and he had a good living. And then he became a sannyasi. So you don't need to have all this material education to make a living. But we need spiritual education. So it says, the process of knowledge is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent men as being the interaction of the field of activity. That is, the interaction of the 16 principal material elements, the 5 mahabhutas, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and then the 5 senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and then 5 objects of the senses, seeing, touching, tasting, hearing, and so forth, and touch. And then the 16th sense is the mind. So the interaction, people think the interaction of these 16 things constitutes knowledge. It's not true. It constitutes material knowledge, but not real knowledge. But actually, this is the real process of knowledge. If one accepts this process, then the possibility of approaching the absolute truth exists. This is not the interaction of the 24 elements as described before. This is actually the means to get out of the entanglement of those elements. So these 20 points in this 13th chapter, verses 8 to 12, enumerate how to become liberated from the cycle of birth and death. That's real knowledge. Okay, so anyway, we go back to what we were studying. With our present materialized senses, we cannot perceive anything of the Transcendental Lord, but our senses are rectified by the process of devotional service, and then the Lord himself becomes revealed to us. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the Transcendental Lord can be perceived only by pure devotional service. So it is confirmed in the Vedas that only devotional service can lead one to the side of the Lord, and that only devotional service can reveal him. In the Brahma Samhita also it is said that the Lord is always visible to the devotees whose eyes have been anointed with the tinge of devotional service. Premanjana charita bhakti divilochanena santak sadaiva hridayesu vilokayanti yam shamasundaram achinta gunaswarupam govindam adipurisham tamaham bhajami. Only when our eyes are imbued with the salve of love of God does the cataract that's obscuring our vision melt away, and then we can see Krishna, even in this body, in this world. So we have to take information of the transcendental form of the Lord from persons who have actually seen him with perfect eyes smeared with devotional service. In the material world also, we do not always see things with our own eyes. We sometimes see through the experience of those who have actually seen or done things. If that is the process for experiencing a mundane object, it is more perfectly applicable in matters transcendental. So previously, you had people like Marco Polo, you had Christopher Columbus, you had Darwin, you had other people, Lewis and Clark. They wrote books about what they saw. So Marco Polo wrote about what he saw when he went from Europe to China, passing through India. And Christopher Columbus wrote what he saw when he went across the Atlantic. Instead of finding East India, he found West Indies, right? In the United States, in America, and so forth. And in the same way, Darwin explained what he saw when he went on a cruise through South America. And he wrote a book about what he saw. So people don't see everything, but they learn from what other people see. So if that's a fact in the material world, why can't we use that same process for spiritual knowledge? That's what Prabhupada's saying here. Most people don't see so many things, but they learn from other people who have seen and they write it down. So in the material world, we also do not always see things with our own eyes. We sometimes see through the experience of those who have actually seen or done things. If that is the process for experiencing a mundane object, it is more perfectly applicable in matters transcendental. So only with patience and perseverance can we realize the transcendental subject matter regarding the absolute truth and its different forms. He is formless to the neophytes, but he is in transcendental form to the expert servitor. So we have to purify our eyes with devotional service. Our vision right now is very, very limited. And the best way to purify our eyes and our mind is to hear Srimad Bhagavatam on a regular basis, morning and evening. Then we can correct our vision. And then, by Krishna's mercy, the spiritual reality of everything is revealed to us. So then the next verse, verse number 5. This form, the second manifestation of the Purusha, is the source and indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations within the universe. And he's talking about Garbhodakshay Vishnu. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, men, and others are created. So, the Purusha, after creating innumerable universes, that means Karana Vishnu, in the Mahatattva. The Purusha, after creating innumerable universes in the Mahatattva, entered in each of them as the second Purusha, Garbhodakshay Vishnu. When he saw that within the universe there was only darkness and space, without a resting place, he filled half of the universe with water from his own perspiration and laid himself down on the same water. This water is called Garbhodaka ocean. Then from his navel the stem of the lotus flower sprouted, and on the flower petals the birth of Brahma, or the master engineer of the universal plan took place. Brahma became the engineer of the universe, and the Lord himself took charge of the maintenance of the universe as Vishnu. So, an engineer is an employee. Right? People study mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. And what do they do after they study it? They get a job working for a company and a CEO who owns the company. Right? Brahma is an employee. He's not the Supreme Lord. He's an engineer. He's got some technical knowledge, how to expand the universe and populate it with living entities. That doesn't make him God. That does make him a very powerful person, just like the CEO of a big company is powerful. But he's not the Supreme Lord. And that we know for sure when we hear the pastimes of Krishna in relationship to Brahma. So now, Brahma was generated from the Raja Guna of Prakriti, or the mode of passion in nature, and Vishnu became the Lord of the mode of goodness. Vishnu, being transcendental to all the modes, is always aloof from materialistic affection. This has already been explained. So now this is a very major point. Is there something wrong with material affection? Yes. Yes. It's just like a person is drowning, you say, hold yourself, just wait a minute, I'll save you. And you swim out, you grab them, and you come back, and you realize you only grabbed their shirt. You didn't grab the person. So the person is dead, but you got his shirt. So that is material affection. We love the body, but we have no understanding of the soul. Therefore, we force the kid. You have to learn this. You have to learn this. You have to learn that. The kid's forced to learn all these things, and he grows up to become an atheist because he was forced to learn everything that's not in relationship with Krishna. Just like there's one lady that used to live across the street, and her son was a brilliant guy. He was always top A student. He got into Stanford, and then he went crazy through stress. And from that point on, he's been basically incapacitated for the last 10 years. Even though he was an A student throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. And then when he graduated, he went to get his master's degree, he snapped, went crazy. And she used to bring him to the temple, but not during the programs because he's a little bit uncontrollable. And she'd always have to be next to him and watch him. And if she didn't watch him carefully, he'd start doing crazy things. But one thing he was crazy about, which was good, he was crazy about prasadam. So he used to eat like a whale. But his situation didn't really get better. So she doesn't come very much anymore, or maybe they moved away, I don't know. So you see, forcing kids just to have material education is actually very detrimental for them, spiritually and materially, because it's very competitive. And if for any reason or other they don't stay up with the competition, it causes a lot of mental problems for them. So, does that mean they should not learn anything? No, but we should know what real education is, and we should know what education is not, and have a balanced program. Otherwise, you'll lose your kid. Because the whole pressure on kids today is to become materialists. If they don't become materialists, who's going to buy all the products that are being made? Right? If you become a devotee, you don't want to buy all these things. You don't need them. You know you don't need them. Like the best thing is the special toilet. You know, you sit down, you push a button, and all of a sudden water comes up and cleans your butt. You know. So people buy this toilet. I mean, I know devotees that buy that toilet, right? What happened to the lota, right? Loto was the cheap thing. But no. We have to buy the special toilet, made in Japan. Huh? They're in Costco now? Okay. Really? Is there anybody demonstrating it? Yeah. So, all these special things. It's like somebody bought this special machine that makes alkaline water. They paid $4,000 for it. And I told them, don't buy the machine. I said, you're wasting your money. You want to make alkaline water, I'll teach you how to make alkaline water. Said, no, this is special. They have all this science behind it. I said, it's all a bunch of junk. There's no science behind it. They're just selling you a machine, so you pay $4,000 and they make, $3,800 on the machine. There's no such thing as it makes alkaline water. It's going to heal this cancer and that thing. It's just not going to do it. He didn't believe me. He bought it, and he tried it out. I kept asking, how's it going? Oh, it's really wonderful. It's really... So 1 year later, I wasn't hearing anything from him. And so I said, how's the machine? He remained silent. I said, what's the matter? He said, we don't use it anymore. I said, what? I thought it healed everything. Did it heal everything? He said, no, it didn't heal anything. He suddenly, it's like buying, the machine that makes ice cream, right? You buy it, you might use it once or twice, and then you just leave it alone. You don't touch it anymore. So the same thing happened with that machine, although it was $4,000. Right? So, by the way, if you want to make alkaline water, just ask me. I'll tell you how to make it. It only costs 10 cents. Not $4,000. It only costs 10 cents. It's not. You don't put salt in it. Okay, it's not that easy. So, Vishnu, being transcendental all the modes, is always aloof from the materialistic affection. This materialistic affection is the main weakness of people. And it's affection for the body, not for the soul. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita also. In the 18th chapter, it says that okay, I'll find it later. It's not the 18th chapter. It's the second chapter. Okay, anyway, we'll go forward. Let me just see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, second chapter, text number 1. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. In other words, if you engage in self-realization, that's compassion for the real soul, for the soul, not the body. The word, this was the point. It says, the word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. This is why they can't solve the problem of homelessness, no matter how much money they spend, because they're not going to address the soul of the person. They're just going to address the body. Give him a rent-free apartment. Give him Medicare. Give him Medicaid. Give him food stamps. Give him passes for the bus. And is that going to solve the problem? That's not going to solve the problem. The problem might even get worse. Everybody in other states might move here, to have a free lunch, And pretty soon they have to raise the taxes so you can give all these freebies to these loafers. Right? It's not going to solve the problem. The problem is the soul is sick. It's not being fed anything, any nourishment at all. It's being starved and it's sick. right? You're just feeding them more sickness by giving them all these free things. Right? Is there something we should do to help them? Yes. Just like Prabhupada said, I have come to save the youth of America. They're all becoming hippies. This is the 1960s. They're all becoming hippies. Now I shall make them happies. So, how is that? By following the 4 regulative principles and chanting Hare Krishna. So many of the hippies became happies by following the simple regulation of devotional service, giving up drugs, giving up movies, giving up this thing, giving up illicit activities. And they became devotees. And it solved all their problems. Right? Okay, so this material affection is showing compassion, showing affection for the body, but not for the soul. Okay. From Brahma there is Rudra, Shiva, who is in charge of the mode of ignorance or darkness. He destroys the whole creation by the will of the Lord. Therefore, all 3, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are incarnations of the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. The conception of the Virat Rupa or Vishwa Rupa of the Supreme Absolute Truth is especially meant for the neophyte. From Brahma, the other demigods like Daksha, Marichi, Manu, and many others become incarnated to generate living entities within the universe. This Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is glorified in the Vedas in the hymns of the Garbha Stuti, which begin with the description of the Lord as having thousands of heads, etc. The Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is the Lord of the universe, and although he appears to be lying within the universe, he is always transcendental. This also has already been explained. The Vishnu, who is the plenary portion of the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, is the supersoul of the universal life, and he is known as the maintainer of the universe, or Shirodakshaya Vishnu. So the 3 features of the original Purusha are thus understood, and all the incarnations within the universe are emanations from this Shirodakshaya Vishnu. So yeah, Shirodakshaya Vishnu is the origin of all incarnations in the material world. Except for Krishna. He is the origin of Shirodakshaya Vishnu. In different millennia, there are different incarnations, and they are innumerable, although some of them are very prominent, such as Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Rama, Nrsimha, Vamana, and many others. Notice he didn't mention Krishna in that list. These incarnations are called Leela incarnations. Then there are qualitative incarnations such as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, or Rudra, who take charge of the different modes of material nature. Lord Vishnu is non-different from the personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is in a marginal position between the personality of Godhead and the living entities, or jivas. So you see, Shiva has a very special, unique position. Even his Shiva Loka is right on the edge of Vaikuntha. And he also appears as Rudra. Rudra is touched by a little bit by the mode of material nature, by the mode of ignorance, slightly. Brahma, so Shiva is between Vishnu and the living entities. Brahma is a jiva. So Shiva is superior to Brahma. Even though Shiva appears as the son of Brahma, he's still superior. He is Amara, he is deathless. And Brahma is subject to birth and death. Brahma is always a jiva tattva. The highest pious living being, or the greatest devotee of the Lord, is empowered with the potency of the Lord for creation, and he is called Brahma. His power is like the power of the sun, reflected in valuable stones and jewels. When there is no such living being to take charge of the post of Brahma, the Lord himself becomes a Brahma and takes charge of the post. Sometimes you don't have a highly qualified person in the universe. So the position of Brahma is taken by a person who's highly qualified, but still might have a slight tendency to dominate. So they're given the position of Brahma. And if they execute their duties properly for the Lord, they go back to Godhead. So Brahma is a titular position. Just like President of the United States is a titular, it's a title position. The same person is not always president. It's a position that one gets by qualification. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living being. He is the plenary portion of the Lord, but because Lord Shiva is in direct touch with material nature, he is not exactly in the same transcendental position as Lord Vishnu. The difference is like that between milk and curd. Curd is nothing but milk, and yet it cannot be used in place of milk. The next incarnations are the Manus, within 1 day's duration of the life of Brahma, which is calculated by our solar years as 4.3 million times 1,000 years, meaning 4,300,000,000 years. There are 14 Manus. Therefore, so that's 1 day, 12 hours a day, and 12 hours a night is the same duration, 4,300,000,000 years. During the 1 day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus. Therefore, there are 420 Manus in 1 month of Brahma and 5,040 Manus in 1 year of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years of his age, and therefore there are 5,040 times 100, or 504,000 Manus in the duration of Brahma's life. Each Manu's duration is approximately 72 plus cycles of 4 ages. So just imagine the duration of Brahma's life. There are innumerable universes with 1 Brahma in each of them, and all of them are created and annihilated during the breathing time of the Purusha. Therefore, one can simply imagine how many millions of Manus there are during 1 breath of the Purusha. The Manus who are prominent within this universe are, as by the way, Prabhupada explains, anyone who dares to say that they are an incarnation of Krishna should be severely chastised and punished. How can they say such a thing when you look at the unlimited length, breadth of Krishna's energies and incarnations and expansions and so forth? How can anyone dare say that they are God? They should be severely, severely chastised and punished for talking nonsense like that. The Manus who are prominent within this universe are as follows: Yajna as Swayambhuva Manu, Vibhu as Swarochisa Manu, Satyasena as Uttama Manu, Hari as Tamasa Manu, Vaikunta as Raivata Manu, Ajita as Chaksusa Manu, Vamana as Vaivasvata Manu. The present age is under the Vaivasvata Manu, the 7th Manu. Sarvabhauma as Savarni Manu, Rishabha as Daksha Savarni, Manu, Vishwaksena as Brahma Savarni Manu, Dharmaksetu as Dharma Savarni Manu, Sudama as Rudra Savarni Manu, Yogeshwara as Deva Savarni Manu, and Brihad Manu as Indra Savarni Manu. These are the names of the one set of 14 Manus covering 4,300,000,000 solar years as described above. Then there are the Yuga avatars, or the incarnations of the millennia. The Yugas are known as Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. The incarnations of each Yuga are of different color. The colors are white, red, black, and yellow. In the Dwapara Yuga, Krishna in black color appeared, and in Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya in yellow color appeared. So all the incarnations of the Lord are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. There is no scope for an impostor to become an incarnation, for an incarnation must be mentioned in the Shastras. An incarnation does not declare himself to be an incarnation of the Lord, but great sages agree by the symptoms mentioned in the revealed scriptures. The features of the incarnation and the particular type of mission which he has to execute are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Apart from the direct incarnations, there are innumerable empowered incarnations. They are also mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Such incarnations are directly as well as indirectly empowered. When they are directly empowered, they are called incarnations. But when they are indirectly empowered, they are called vibhutis. So, the 11th chapter is a whole number of vibhutis. 10th chapter also a little bit. Directly empowered incarnations are the Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, Shesha, Ananta, etc. So the Kumaras, are the founders of one of the Vaishnava Sampradayas. And Narada is the person who actually brought the Srimad Bhagavatam into the material world from Vaikuntha and so forth. As far as vibhutis are concerned, they are very explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter. And for all of these different types of incarnations, the fountainhead is Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So now, last verse 6. First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were 4 unmarried sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, who being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. Now, this is an important point because one cannot achieve anything in life without performing austerities. You have to deny yourself certain things in order to achieve other things. Without a life of austerity, one will never achieve anything. And the real purpose of austerity is to become Krishna conscious. Not, like for example, a prisoner, a political prisoner who makes a vow of fasting to death. That is a useless austerity. That's austerity in mode of ignorance. Right? If you're going to do any austerity, it should be to advance in Krishna consciousness, such as waking up early, coming to Mangala Arati, chanting your rounds early in the morning, hearing the class early in the morning before you go to work. That's an austerity. But it's an austerity in order to make spiritual advancement. Staying up late till 1 or 2 o'clock at night, that's not an austerity for spiritual advancement. That's called nonsense. Right? Playing cricket and doing this and doing that, playing, all these different games, Fortnite, whatever. That's not austerity. That's all nonsense. But organizing your life to come early to the temple and see the deity and chant and hear the class and do some service, have some prasadam, that is austerity. But actually, it's nectar. It's a nectarian austerity. It's not like meditating in the freezing Ganges in wintertime in Haridwar or in Rishikesh. That's a type of austerity, but that's not austerity that the Vaishnavas do. The Vaishnavas make a practice of early to bed, early to rise, in order to make you Krishna conscious. That's austerity. The creation of material world is affected, maintained, and then again annihilated at certain intervals. So there are different names of the creations in terms of the particular types of Brahma, the father of the living beings in the creation. The Kumaras, as above mentioned, appeared in the Kaumara creation of the material world. And to teach us, Kaumara means the beginning, the earlier age of the material world. And to teach us the process of Brahman realization, they underwent a severe type of disciplinary action as bachelors. So in other words, to become Brahman realized, one must be celibate. So you see, all the Mayavadis who are serious, they have to be celibate, to be sannyasis. They cannot, and that was all Sankaracharya's program. You have to be celibate in order to advance toward Brahman realization. However, in Krishna consciousness, there's such a thing as grihastha renunciate. The grihastha renunciate only engages in procreation for children, and otherwise they refrain from any activity like that. So they are considered celibate also, because they have control of their mind and senses. These Kumaras are the empowered incarnations, and before executing the severe type of disciplinary actions, all of them became qualified brahmanas. This example suggests that one must first acquire the qualifications of a brahmana, not simply by birth, but by equality, and then one can undergo the process of Brahman realization. But see, Brahman realization is not what the Mayavadis say. Brahman realization is Vedanti Tattvavitas Tattvam Yajnanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Sabhyate. There are 3 stages of Brahman realization. Brahman means the supreme absolute truth. So, what are those 3 stages? That is explained here. That's the Brahmajyoti effulgence, and then the Paramatma, and then Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is Brahman. That is real Brahman realization. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call the non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. The absolute truth is both subject and object, and there is no qualitative difference between there. Therefore, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are qualitatively one and the same. That's why in the spiritual world, cause and effect are the same. In the material world, cause and effect are different. Therefore, people get confused. You heard that phrase, who done it? Right? So, who done it? In a murder trial, they have to figure out who done it. Right? So, there's a cause and there's an effect, but they're usually different. Whereas in the spiritual world, the cause and effect are the same. Krishna is the cause, and Krishna is the effect. They're non-different. Whereas here, they seem different, and that's what confuses people. Actually, here also, the cause and effect are the same. But due to the duality of the body and the soul, people see it not the same, and they're confused. The same substance is realized as impersonal Brahman by the students of the Upanishads, as the localized Paramatma by the Hiranyagarbhas or the yogis, and as Bhagavan by the devotees. In other words, Bhagavan, or the Personality of Godhead, is the last word of the absolute truth. Paramatma is the partial representation of the Personality of Godhead, and impersonal Brahman is the glowing effulgence of the Personality of Godhead, as the sun's rays are to the sun. Less intelligent students of either of the above schools sometimes argue in favor of their own respective realization, but those who are perfect seers of the absolute truth know well that the above 3 features of the one absolute truth are different perspective views seen from different angles of vision. This is the real understanding of Brahman realization. It's the Brahmajyoti, it's Paramatma, and it's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of everything. And they're one and the same in the sense that everything is emanating from Krishna, everything is made of Krishna's spiritual energy. Therefore, Krishna is the source. Krishna is everything. But yet, when you come to the material world, Krishna is everything, but everything is not Krishna. In the spiritual world, Krishna is everything and everything is Krishna. But in the material world, if everything was Krishna, you could put a dog on the altar and worship it. Right? But no, Krishna is everything. Everything is made of Krishna's expansion, but everything is not Krishna. That's called Achintya Beda Beda Atattva. Beda Beda Tattva. Okay, so I think we've covered everything. Let me come back here and take a look for today. Yeah. Okay, are there any questions? We've covered this subject today. Did I miss anything? Did I miss anything? Any questions? Yes. Well, all the incarnations are coming from Garbhodaksha Vishnu. They're his heads, eyes, all those things. You see, because it's all emanating from him. Do you understand that? So, like for example, we can say a Krishna is present in the heart of every living entity. So, the ability to see, the ability to think, all that is coming from Krishna. So, in that sense, Kshirodaksha Vishnu, or the Super Soul, sees, hears, touches, tastes, everything. So therefore, these eyes don't belong to us. They belong to the Lord. The ears don't belong to us. They belong to the Lord. You see. It's just like when Sanatana Goswami wanted to commit suicide. Lord Chaitanya said, you can't do that. You can't get rid of your body. Your body belongs to me. I have many things I have to do through your body. So, that's the understanding. Everything we have, this body, this soul, is coming from Krishna. Therefore, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongues, everything belongs to the Lord. He can see. Whatever you're seeing, he's seeing. Whatever you're hearing, he's hearing. So, this idea that things are separate from the Lord, that the cause and the effect are different, that is actually Maya. That's actually Maya. Does that mean that we are Krishna? No. But it does mean, just like for example, if you rent, let's say you rent a car, and you sit in it, you turn the key on, you're driving, you think, oh, this car belongs to me. Does it belong to you? Huh? No. If you don't bring it back, they'll report that you stole the car, and then the police will stop you and arrest you. So we should understand this body, the eyes, the ears, the nose, everything doesn't belong to us. It belongs to Krishna. Therefore, we should only use these things to serve the Lord. We should not use it in any other way. Otherwise, we're criminals. Krishna will send us police, Yamaraj, and the Yamadutas, and the laws of material nature, laws of karma, and we get zapped. And we say, what did I do wrong? I don't understand what is happening. Yes, because you went to Disneyland. Now you're getting the karmic reaction. You were not using your eyes, ears, nose in Krishna's service. Therefore, we're building Disneyland called Krishna Land, where you can go, and who's doing that? There's one devotee in South India is building a Disneyland, but it's actually Krishna Land. So, anything used in the service of the Lord becomes spiritual. Any material thing used in the service of the Lord. Because everything is spiritual. We don't see the spiritual quality of it when we use it for sense gratification. We only see the spiritual quality of it when we use it in Krishna's service. So this is the way, just like the example, you rent the car, it doesn't belong to you. So this body is like rented. It actually belongs to somebody else. It doesn't belong to us. This illusion that it belongs to us, we have to get it out of the mind. And to solve homelessness, you don't solve homelessness by giving them a home. You solve homelessness by helping them become Krishna conscious. We are all homeless. We're all going to be kicked out of our home, right? This body. We're all going to be kicked out. So we should be attached to what we are really. We are this soul. And the soul belongs to Krishna. Any other question? Did that answer your question? Yes, Prabhu. You're going to represent the demons? Go ahead. Yes. You have to what? Discriminate. You didn't say incriminate, did you? You said discriminate. Okay. Well, the wife also has to get detached from you, too. It's not just that you have to become detached from her. She has to also be detached from you.
At the same time, so Bhagavatam and Gita, so like wherever you are, in whatever position, profession you have to just practice Krishna consciousness.
But Krishna consciousness means detachment.
Yeah, so that I want to have more clarity.
Well, it's like this. Krishna is the most detached. Will you accept that? But yet he's supplying us rain, he's supplying us the seasons, he's supplying the seeds, he's supplying the earth, he's supplying everything. He doesn't stop supplying those things. Even though the atheists, the demons are using those things, and the devotees are using those things. Still the demons, they go to the Safeway, they fill their cart up with all stuff, and they have plenty of money, right? And they're eating whatever they want to eat, and so Krishna is supplying all that. He's not stopping the supply. He might make it scarce sometimes, just like in Chennai now. There's no water. That's because people have misbehaved too much, right? But still, they're going to get some water, or they can move. They can move from Chennai. From Tamil Nadu, they can move to Kerala or somewhere. There's water there for the time being. But you see, Krishna is supplying. He's not saying, I'm not going to supply because you guys are, blaspheming me. No, he continues to supply. He's not attached. But he does his duty. And he also comes to teach Bhagavad Gita, and he also sends pure devotees like Prabhupada and so forth to reestablish the principles of religion. So he has duties. See, you're thinking, if my wife doesn't talk nicely to me, I won't give her any money. No. Your duty is to supply without attachment. And see, the key word is duty. People say, no, the key word is love. There's no such thing as love in the material world. It's all lust. The key word is duty. Just like Krishna is supplying, whether you're a demon or you're a devotee. The same way, we have a duty to perform. If you got married, you have a duty. You can't escape it. But yet, you have another duty. The other duty is you have to develop Krishna consciousness. So you want to do your duty, then you not only supply the food, but you also supply Krishna consciousness. Then that becomes your real swadharma, the superior swadharma. The inferior swadharma is, doing the minimal. Superior to swadharma is doing everything possible to be Krishna conscious and at the same time have the minimal needs for a peaceful life. So that's the way, right? It's not that, we can't be attached to the wife. Okay, now I don't have to do my duty anymore. No. That's nonsense. That's another nonsense, And the wife said, well, I'm not going to be attached to my husband anymore. So Harivilas said, you're not supposed to be attached. Srimad Bhagavatam said, I'm not going to iron his clothes. I'm not going to do the wash anymore. I'm not going to cook anymore. No, that's all nonsense. The key word is duty. Duty. You want to not do all those things? Why did you get married then? As long as you're married, you have to do all those duties. But you have to do it without attachment. Without attachment. And at the same time, your superior duty is to become Krishna conscious. The key word is duty. There's no question of love. Don't use the word love, because as soon as you use the word love, everything gets confused. All the nonsense people say, all you need is love. No, it's not all you need. You also have to do your duty. Right? And your duty is to act according to your position in Krishna consciousness. So if you accept the position of Grihastha, you have to take care of your family. You have to be kind. You have to be tolerant. You have to be self-controlled. And you have to be Krishna conscious. That's your duty. And you have to supply the family their needs without attachment. Right? Just like yesterday in the news, this father got angry at his kid because his kid did something, some little thing. He punched him, and the kid died. The father's a big guy, big, strong guy. He punched this kid really hard. He got angry. He killed his own kid. And now he's in jail. It happens every day in America. It happens all over the world. People are not conscious of their duty. They're just conscious of their own selfish material needs. So we'll stop right there. Thank you very much.